Hello everyone, welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
I'm Rainbow.
And today we're going to be looking at Benedict Cumberbatch. We're not actually just looking at him. That would be weird if he was here and we're just kind of staring at him. No, we're going to be reading about him and learning about him today and tomorrow. Now, I'd say that both of us are probably Cumber fans.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's another word for fans of Benedict Cumberbatch, but we won't get into that. We'll call ourselves Cumber fans. When was the first time you remember seeing Benedict Cumberbatch in something and going, oh, this guy's good?
Maybe the movie The Imitation Game.
Oh, okay, that World War II kind of spy movie,
Genius.
Math Genius. He played Alan Turing. Yeah, that was great.
That was so good. His acting.
I think he was nominated for Oscars for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I remember him, of course, from Sherlock. That was probably the first thing I remember seeing him in. He'd been in a few small roles before that. And when I look back, I was like, oh yeah, he was in that other thing.
He's like the perfect Sherlock.
But he was very good in Sherlock. I really liked that series, especially the first few seasons. And of course, since then, it's just been a Cumber world. He's been in the Hobbit movies, playing dragons. He's been in the Avengers movies, playing Doctor Strange. He's done all sorts of stuff. And this year, he's had another great year. When everyone was in coronavirus lockdown, he was making award-winning movies. The Power of the Dog is a new one that's out on Netflix, and it certainly has a lot of Oscar attention, so everything's looking good for Benedict Cumberbatch. He is far from ordinary in many ways, and we'll find out all about that in our article.
In 2004, after surviving a dangerous kidnapping, London-born actor Benedict Cumberbatch affirmed his desire to live a life slightly less ordinary. Given his talent and success on both screen and stage, it seems he was indeed destined for an extraordinary journey. Cumberbatch grew up well off in an acting household. Although both of his parents are distinguished actors, they did not want their son to follow in their footsteps. In fact, they initially discouraged Cumberbatch from acting, suggesting that he study law instead.
All right, so yeah, the full title of the article, Benedict Cumberbatch, Far From Ordinary. He's not your average movie star, folks. Let's find out more about him.
In 2004, after surviving a dangerous kidnapping, London-born actor Benedict Cumberbatch affirmed his desire to live a life slightly less ordinary.
Oh.
Wow, that's a big sentence. So lots of things happened. First of all, he was kidnapped.
Yeah.
And then he decided, I don't want to be normal anymore.
He wants to kind of live his life to the full and take chances and stuff. I think he was in South Africa. The car he was driving in got stolen. He was locked in the trunk, and like the bad guys had guns. I mean, it was for a couple hours there. I think it was a very, very dangerous situation. So once you live through something like that, a lot of people might go, you know, I'm gonna live my life slightly differently. I'm gonna do what I want, take more chances, live my life to the full. Because you never know, someday you could get kidnapped and something terrible might happen. So yeah, maybe do things slightly differently in your life. When we use this adverb slightly, it means a little bit, not too much, just a little bit, all right? So you can use it for a lot of different situations, but when you want to change or when you want to do something differently or when someone's asking your opinion and you're saying, well, just a little bit, slightly is a great word to use. My new computer is only slightly more powerful than my old one. It's not a huge change. It's a change from a certain size chip to a slightly more powerful one, but not a big or major change or anything like that. So he wanted to live his life slightly more differently. Given his talent and success on both screen and stage, it seems he was indeed destined for an extraordinary journey. Well, yeah, he has a lot of talent. He's always attracted attention for his acting skills. And so for him to become a big movie star is no big surprise, especially to the people who knew him growing up.
Cumberbatch grew up well off in an acting household. Although both of his parents are distinguished actors, they did not want their son to follow in their footsteps. So actually, it might have been easy for him to become an actor, but he didn't want to do that until he had that big life event.
That's true. I think both of his parents actually were in the Sherlock TV show.
Really?
So if you go back and watch it, I think both of his parents had different parts in that. So yeah, he comes from an acting family. He has an acting background. His mom and dad were both professional actors. And in fact, it says they, again, talking about his parents, his mom and dad, in fact, they initially discouraged Cumberbatch from acting, suggesting that he study law instead. So when he was a young kid and he said, I want to be an actor like you, Mom and Dad, they said, oh, it's a hard job.
You should be a lawyer.
And yeah, it's hard to make money and there's, no one's going to guarantee you a job or a career or a success. Maybe you should be a lawyer. Maybe you should be a doctor. Maybe you should be one of those
Something distinguished.
Exactly, distinguished and sort of more a safer kind of career.
So here we have the adjective distinguished, and notice here it is an adjective, so we're using it to describe something such as a career, or this is going to be something that everybody loves and thinks is amazing, like maybe a doctor, a lawyer, something fancy that people feel like is maybe a bit better than other jobs. Okay, I have an example for you. Dr. Martin has had a distinguished career in public service. So a wonderful career serving a lot of people, working for the government, distinguished, especially good, something better than others, and something we're proud of.
Okay, something people would respect and honor, something that has a high
status.
Sort of social status. Oh, you do that? Wow, that's a pretty special job. It's very distinguished. All right, and initially, that adverb we also saw in the sentence, his parents initially discouraged him from becoming an actor. That means basically at first or at the beginning.
Only at first.
Right. When he was really young and he first said, I want to be an actor, they kind of said, that's a bad idea. But then,
they were like, okay.
He stuck with it. He showed them he was really determined.
Good at it, too.
And he's good at it.
Very
so
good.
eventually they changed their minds. But at first, at the beginning, when he first had an idea of what kind of job he wanted, they said, no, that's not a good choice. But things changed. And so we have this example sentence, Hugo initially came to Paris to study French. That's what he did at first when he got to Paris. He was probably there for many years after that, ended up working in a restaurant or at a magazine or who knows, but the first reason that he came to Paris at first was to study French. Let's take a break and then we'll be back with more about Benedict Cumberbatch. It's a hard name to remember sometimes.
It's long.
It is long.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这一次要介绍的人物是 Benedict Cumberbatch， 多念几次哦，这个名字有点难念。Benedict Cumberbatch 就是班奈迪克·康柏拜区，也就是饰演奇异博士啊、福尔摩斯的那一位演员。那课文写到说，在2004年的绑架事件中幸存下来之后 ，Cumberbatch 确定他想要的是稍微不平凡的生活。有鉴于他在这个电影和舞台上面的才华跟成就，他似乎就是要注定踏上一段不凡的旅程。好 ，Cumberbatch 他是在一个这种富裕的演艺家庭中长大，虽然父母都是杰出演员，但是他们并不希望儿子追随他们的脚步。事实上他们最初还有劝阻他，叫他不要演戏，而是建议他要念法律。我们来看单字，刚刚说稍微不平凡，我们用到 slightly 这个副词表示稍微、略微。那么形容词 distinguished 它是形容著名的、杰出的。Initially 它是副词表示最初、开始。那这边5个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，来看第一个重点是 given， 可以当介系词去表达考虑到、有鉴于什么什么。那么后面是接名词，例如 given his work experience。He's a good fit for the job. 有鉴于他的工作经历，他是这份工作的好人选。下一个重点是 both A and B， 表示 A 和 B 两者皆怎么样？那其中的 A、B 词性必须相同哦。像我们可以说 The game is suitable for both children and adults. 这款游戏小孩、大人都适合。 下一个重点是句型 It seems that 主词加动词是表达看来怎么样，似乎怎么样。seem 在这边是指似乎、好像或是看起来。例如 It seems that Sharon has found her Mr. Right。看来 Sharon 似乎已经找到她的真命天子喽。好，那我们其实也常常用 seem 加形容词，或者是 seem like 加名词。像我们可以说 He seemed uninterested。他似乎不感兴趣诶。That seems like a good idea。那似乎是个好点子诶。好，下一个重点是 be destined for 加名词，或者是用 be destined to 再加原形动词，可以表达注定会经历或是实现某事。那么动词 destined 它就是指说注定、命定的那种意思。例如 Emma believes that she is destined to become a famous writer。Emma 相信自己注定会成为知名作家。再来看到 suggest， 它表示建议、提议，那它是及物动词。以下要介绍两种常见用法。第一种呢，你可以用 suggest 加上 that 子句，可是要注意 that 子句的结构是 that 主词加上 should 再加原形动词。例如 My friend suggested that we should book a table in advance。那这边注意，我们也可以拿到 should 就会变成 that we book a table in advance。我朋友建议我们先定位。好，再看到第二个句型是 suggest 加上名词或动名词，像我们可以说 He suggested taking a walk after dinner， 或是 He suggested a walk after dinner。他提议吃完晚餐后去散步。好，我们接回到课文中。
Nevertheless, Cumberbatch knew from age 16 that he wanted to become a professional actor. He pushed ahead and attended a respected acting school, drawing attention for his striking maturity.
I felt like I was working with a fellow professional rather than a schoolboy,
said Martin Tyrrell, who was Cumberbatch's acting teacher in those days. After high school, Cumberbatch traveled to Darjeeling, India. He lived there for a year, teaching English to Buddhist monks, who taught him Buddhism in return. He felt this experience allowed him to know his purpose in life, feel connected to his environment, and improve his ability to focus. And he credits Buddhism with helping make him into the calm, confident actor he is today. Cumberbatch then returned to England and graduated with a degree in acting.
So there's young Benedict growing up in an acting household. His parents are in Shakespeare plays and TV shows, and he says, I want to do that. And they said, no, you should become a lawyer or something like that. But no, young Benedict wouldn't listen to his parents. And so back in the article we read, nevertheless, Cumberbatch knew from age 16 that he wanted to become a professional actor. And he did. And he didn't become a lawyer.
He did not.
No.
So we have here the adjective professional. If you're pro or you're professional, that means you're very good at something as your job. So if you can be a professional athlete, that means that you play sports and somebody pays you. If you're a professional actor, that means that's your job and you get paid and you earn your living that way. All right, I have a sentence for you. My coach doesn't think I'm good enough to become a professional tennis player. So this person wants to play for a team as a job, but the coach says, I don't think you're good enough, so maybe you can just play tennis for fun.
Yeah, we often use this for things where you could do it as a hobby, right? If you do it as a hobby just for fun, you might be an amateur, A-M-A-T-E-U-R. If you do it as a job, though, you're a professional. But of course, there are certain things you wouldn't have to say. There's no such thing as an amateur doctor or an amateur lawyer.
No.
They're all professionals. But when we talk about the arts or sports or cooking, professional chef, you work in a restaurant. You're not just a cook at home, you do it as a job. So he wanted to be a professional actor, just like mom and dad. So what did he do?
He pushed ahead and attended a respected acting school, drawing attention for his striking maturity.
Good for him.
Wow. So he went to an acting school and then draw attention. So bringing people to pay attention to him. And he was very different because of his maturity.
Yeah, I guess he kind of seemed older than some of the other students. Many of them were probably in their 19, 20, early 20s, late teens, something like that. But he kind of behaved behaved, he seemed like an older person. Even though they knew he was just as young as everyone else, the way he behaved, the way he acted, the way he carried himself
More adult.
was more like an adult, more like an older adult, maybe someone in their 30s or 40s. When someone talks about your maturity, they're basically saying that the way you're acting seems older than your actual physical age, all right? So if you see a 9-year-old sitting there with glasses on, reading the business section of a newspaper, you might say, wow, that child has a lot of maturity.
He's very mature.
Most kids are making TikTok videos. That kid is reading the Wall Street Journal. That's very different. That kid acts like an older person. The kid has some maturity. For example, Bill has the maturity level of a 9-year-old boy, which
Maybe
would be
he's
fine.
6.
Well, that could be, but I think it means more like he's a 39-year-old man who acts like a 9-year-old boy. Star Wars is so cool. You're 39, Bill. Come on. Back to the article. I felt like I was working with a fellow professional rather than a schoolboy, said Martin Tyrrell, who was Cumberbatch's acting teacher in those days. There you go. So he thought this student was behaving and acting more like a professional actor, and the teacher had to say, wait, but he's not. He's still just a young student. Showing great maturity.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
After high school, Cumberbatch traveled to Darjeeling, India. He lived there for a year, teaching English to Buddhist monks who taught him Buddhism in return. He felt this experience allowed him to know his purpose in life, feel connected to his environment, and improve his ability to focus. I can definitely see that. I feel like he has a very calm presence, and you can tell that he probably practices meditation or a lot of time alone. I think so.
Okay, all right. Well, that's certainly an interesting thing to do. A lot of students do that, right? They call it a gap year between when you finish high school and maybe start university, or sometime in your late teens, early 20s, you take some time off. You come to Taiwan to teach English, or go to India, or travel around working in Australia or something like that. But I've never heard of someone teaching Buddhist monks in Darjeeling, India. That's quite an interesting place to go and an interesting thing to do. But you're right, it seems to have done something really good for him. And we read on and learn he credits Buddhism with helping make him into the calm, confident actor he is today. So yeah, maybe he learned about meditation and things like that. Some good habits he picked up there in India have stuck with him to today. Cumberbatch then returned to England and graduated with a degree in acting. Well, that's all the time we have for today. We haven't even gotten to any of his famous roles, so you guys will have to come back tomorrow and join us for that. Until then, bye-bye.
虽然 Cumberbatch 的爸妈不希望他踏上演员之路，可是他从16岁就知道自己想要成为一名职业演员。他坚定的持续追求梦想，那就读了一所很有声望的表演学校，并且呢，因为他惊人的成熟度而受到关注，让表演老师都觉得是在跟一名同行的专业人士工作，而不是在跟一个中学生工作。好，单字 professional，professional 它是形容词，形容专业的、职业的，它也可以当名词来表达这个专业人士啊、专家。我们常听到这个 pro， 不是有那个 Joe 很 pro 吗？ pro 就是来自这个单字的简写哦。好，补充一下，如果是业余的，我们会用 amateur，amateur 可以形容是业余的，也可以当名词来表达是业余人士。好，那么下一个单字是 maturity，maturity 它可以表达成熟阶段，也可以表达心智上的成熟。那么 Cumberbatch 在高中毕业后呢，他就前往印度大吉岭旅行，他在那边住1年，然后教佛教的僧侣英语。那么佛教僧侣则是传授他佛教来作为回报。这一段的经历啊，对他帮助很大。他认为是佛教帮助他成为今天这个冷静自信的演员。然后之后回到英国就取得表演学位。刚刚老师们有提到冥想这个字叫 meditation，M-E-D-I-T-A-T-I-O-N，meditation 表示冥想、沉思。还有 gap year。 gap 这个 gap 再搭配 year 是指空档年。有些人就会在毕业之后，然后在进入大学之前，要给自己1年空档年，去壮游、去旅游、增长见闻，或者是从事其他活动来探索自己真正热爱的事。可是应该很少人会利用 gap year 去大吉岭教僧侣英文吧？Cumberbatch 他确实是很不平凡哦。好，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
In 2004, after surviving a dangerous kidnapping, London-born actor Benedict Cumberbatch affirmed his desire to live a life slightly less ordinary. Given his talent and success on both screen and stage, it seems he was indeed destined for an extraordinary journey. Cumberbatch grew up well off in an acting household. Although both of his parents are distinguished actors, they did not want their son to follow in their footsteps. In fact, they initially discouraged Cumberbatch from acting, suggesting that he study law instead. Nevertheless, Cumberbatch knew from age 16 that he wanted to become a professional actor. He pushed ahead and attended a respected acting school, drawing attention for his striking maturity.
I felt like I was working with a fellow professional rather than a schoolboy,
said Martin Tyrrell, who was Cumberbatch's acting teacher in those days. After high school, Cumberbatch traveled to Darjeeling, India. He lived there for a year, teaching English to Buddhist monks, who taught him Buddhism in return. He felt this experience allowed him to know his purpose in life, feel connected to his environment, and improve his ability to focus. And he credits Buddhism with helping make him into the calm, confident actor he is today. Cumberbatch then returned to England and graduated with a degree in acting.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Ian.
I'm Stephen.
And today we're playing a game called Word Drop, where we both have 3 cards with either words or phrases on them, and we're going to casually work them into our sentences.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, ready? And I will go first.
Okay.
Okay. It's been raining so much these days, you know. Taiwan just is a really rainy sort of climate, you know. I'm not used to that because I used to live in LA where it's like there was sunshine 300 days out of the year. And I don't have any rain boots. I don't like walking in like the rain. I don't like when it's cold. There's no heating at home, which really bothers me. So sometimes I can get slightly annoying about how much I hate the rain.
I totally understand. Nobody likes the rain, but sometimes it's good that we have meteorologists who tell us if it's going to rain or be sunny the next day. And being a meteorologist, I feel like, you know, like it's a lot of pressure because like you really have to be a professional at your job. You have to be a professional meteorologist to tell the weather.
I would hope that meteorologists are professionals. I feel like sometimes I am a meteorologist because I'm on my weather app so much, like multiple times a day. I've got so many different climates because Taiwan's also quite small, so it's easy to travel, you know. But I've got like Lisbon, I've got New York, LA, like all these different time zones and stuff and climates. And initially, I thought that it might be too much to track, but I actually have fun tracking all these different cities and their climates.
I love that you do that. I think it's very interesting that you have such an interesting, I guess, hobby of tracking cities. And speaking of cities, I feel like in a city, there are a lot of great people who are really good at what they do. You could say that they're very distinguished.
Yes, I would hope that there are great people doing or great at what they do in big cities. That's a very accurate description of everything. And I think in order to really be a full-fledged adult, you have to have a lot of maturity.
That's right. I think that people who are very mature can do really great things. They can really focus on what they're doing instead of wasting time. And I feel like people like that are definitely destined for great things because they're very mature.
Yeah, that's great. I hope we're destined for great things.
I hope I'm destined for great things.
No, I said we.
Oh, I hope we're destined for great things.
See you next time.